Hey, I'm Rebecca Sigala. This is the second episode on female empowerment that I'm doing for my YouTube series. And today we have a good friend of mine and personal trainer.
Hello.
Tova Eastman. I'm so happy that you're here.
Me too. I'm so excited.
Yes, and we've been working together for 2 years at least.
Yeah, right after I had Mackenzie, she's gonna be 2 in a month. So yeah.
Amazing. And yeah, wow. I started personal training with Tova, and we just realized that we have so many common values and overlaps in our business, and we're always talking about how we can help empower our clients to be strong females and just the best versions of themselves. And today we're going to talk about reclaiming your body after birth. Yes, which is such a big deal for almost every woman that I've, spoken to. And for me, it's very relevant because I'm expecting.
If you can tell.
Yes. And I think it's just a really important conversation to have. So Tova, first, before we go into reclaiming our bodies after birth, can you tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. Happy to. So I'm a personal trainer and fitness nutrition specialist. So it means I'm a nutrition coach, and I also specialize in what you should eat when you are exercising. And I started about 6 years ago with some very small goals. I was like, my goal is to have 10 clients, and help women, feel good and empowered about their bodies. But it's turned out to be a lot more meaningful and spread more than I've ever thought.
I can totally relate to that.
I mean, I was young when I started, and I hadn't gone through so much in life in my body as well. And just meeting women, going through different stages in life, women surviving breast cancer, dealing with issues, fibromyalgia, postpartum, whatever it is, and seeing these women fight for their bodies and seeing how much it makes a difference in their lives, in their families' lives, in their confidence level. And there's a lot of times that I've been brought to tears just because people tell me their stories, and I didn't know that I was making such a big difference. But when you feel good about your body and when you feel healthy and energized, it changes everything else in your life, and it really overshadows it. And so it's really something that I am passionate about, especially in my life. I've seen it, and I just want to spread it to others.
Yeah. I totally, like I said, I totally relate to everything that you just mentioned. I feel like some of the things I could even be saying myself about my own business. So it's just really exciting to be able to talk to you about this. Okay, so do you work with a lot of women that are postpartum? Is that a majority of women, or how many of your clients do you think that?
So in general, my services are open to women in general. So I've trained girls as young as 7 to women as old as 70. Mm-hmm. But my main demographic, the most women that come to me, are moms. So whether that is moms that are literally 6 weeks postpartum, they got their doctor's note and they're like, I'm ready to get my body back, or moms that their youngest is 10 or their youngest is 20. But they're moms, and they're coming to me because they haven't felt in control of their bodies since they've given birth. So whether it's raw and new and they're feeling literally like they just had a baby, or they just haven't gotten it back since, they want that. And they haven't felt that confidence in their body since. And I think
they just haven't had the tools to be able to recognize what their body needs.
Yeah, whether it's the tools or the time, or they don't know how, or they've been trying things and it just didn't work or wasn't consistent. And it's always something that triggers them in their life, that it's like, okay, it's enough is enough.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think women kind of neglect that aspect of themselves?
I think that, being a mother changes you, and it all of a sudden gives you this extra responsibility and this whole nother person to care for who you're solely responsible for. And often, our own needs go by the wayside, because we'll always put our kids first. Yeah. And while it's important to take care of our kids and put their needs at a high priority, I think we forget or don't even think about that if we're not taking care of ourselves, we're not going to be as good a mom or as good a spouse, because we're not feeling as energized, we're not feeling as healthy. If you don't feel good about yourself and your body, you can take it out on other places in life. So I think the big message that I try to spread is like, self-care isn't selfish, and I know this is a big movement now.
Yeah.
You know, obviously everything can be extreme. So if you're only focusing on yourself and neglecting everyone else, yes, that's selfish. But showing your kids, I'm taking care of my body because I care about it, that's a message we want to send to them. I'm putting in healthy food in my body because I love my body. I'm making time for me as well as you, and I'm a better giver because of it.
Right.
I think it's overall.
I think one time someone told me something like, what advice would you give to your daughter if she was in your situation?
Yes.
And it's kind of like, you would never want your kids to like wring themselves dry and not take care of themselves and just, you know, kind of like be a martyr for their family. Like you want them to like fill their own glass and then be able to pour for other people. And I think that we should like really apply that to ourselves.
Women have so much guilt about this.
Yeah.
It's like, I know this, but at the same time doing it makes me feel guilty, so I shouldn't. And I think it's taking that leap of, okay, I will have to wait and see how much this affects my family and how I feel better about myself. And it's so backwards because it's like self-care should be the first thing we do, but it takes time to build up
like
that
the
guilt.
routine, or like being used to taking care of yourself.
I think, for a lot of people, I think it's literally guilt, that they're guilty for putting themselves before their kids, because there's an endless amount of time you could be spending on your kids, and I am victim to that as well. A lot of times I won't do things for myself because I'm like, but my kids need me, and it's a balance. It's always a struggle, but there are certain things that you do have to put first just to make sure they happen, and there will be time for your kids as well and for their family. I just think
Did
it's
you
about
ever
balance.
experience that guilt for yourself? What was your own...
About exercise specifically, or
just self-care, time for yourself?
Yeah, for a while, yes. Often I'll feel guilty even going to the other room to breathe because I'm like, I'm not spending time with...
How old are your girls right now?
4 and almost 2.
So they're babies.
They're little. They need my attention. They're in school until about 4 o'clock. So in the limited time I have with them, I want to spend it with them. But at the same time, I'm working until I pick them up. So like, where's that time for me? And then I work in the evenings as well.
Yeah.
So, I've actually been working on, getting a massage once a week.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, from Esty.
Good
She's
for you.
amazing. Or, just taking time to go in the other room and breathe, just sit by myself. And it's not something that it's like a practice I do all the time, but I'm trying to find that balance of, okay, I'm not with my kids a second, but I'm not feeling guilty, and I'm doing something that's good for me, and I'm coming back to them feeling like the cup is full, and I'm that fun mom because I have energy and I'm not dragging. So again, that's not every day. There's lots of days I'm dragging.
Do you feel like the exhaustion and the overworking kind of contributes to how women feel about their bodies? What do you hear women saying after they give birth about how they feel about their bodies?
A lot of times they've let themselves go. They feel like they don't know this body, or they never thought they'd get to this place. They don't know how it got there.
What do you mean by letting yourself go?
Maybe a lot of women when they're pregnant will just say, okay, I'm pregnant, so I'm going to eat whatever I want. Or they were just so tired that they couldn't build up the energy to exercise. And plus, their bodies were growing at a rapid pace. Mm-hmm. So a lot of change happened to their bodies, and they weren't necessarily taking care of it the way they were before, often. And so it's much harder it's harder after pregnancy to get your body back than just, gaining some weight, because not only did you gain fat, but your muscles in your stomach have stretched to a crazy amount that doesn't usually happen to people that rapidly, except for when you're pregnant.
Right. And plus all of the emotions and the hormones and everything that goes into that.
Definitely.
So what was your experience like through pregnancy? Did you work out? You're a personal trainer, so you're pretty dedicated.
Yes.
But what was your routine like, and how did you feel about yourself after you gave birth?
Okay. So I kind of want to start at the beginning, actually, because I had 2 pregnancies, and each was a little different. Mm-hmm. So I did work out the entire time through both pregnancies, and it made a huge difference. And I felt strong, and I felt capable, and I had more energy. And even at the beginning with the nausea, and I remember hearing, just exercise, it'll help. And I remember feeling nauseous and not wanting to, but being like, let me just try this. And I did. And after my workout, I felt better. So that helped me. Luckily, I wasn't someone who really got sick a lot during pregnancy, but still, it really gave me that energy, and it helped me not be stuck on the couch at the end. But I think also with my eating, it changed a lot. I became much more involved in nutrition before my second kid, and I gained a lot less weight during my second pregnancy. I felt better. I bounced back faster. So I think that combination really was important. But one thing I do want to say that's just really important is before I ever got pregnant, people would tell me really negative things like, say goodbye to your body. Say goodbye to your body. You're never going to see it again. You'll never get your body back. And I guess I'm like kind of like a rebel by nature. So in my mind, I was like, no. I am not only going to be as fit as I was before, I'm going to be fitter after every kid. I don't know why. I just was like, I'm rebelling against that negative stuff that you said to me. Yeah. So I was really driven in my pregnancy to get back after. And it was really shocking after my first pregnancy because that was like my first time I really had to struggle with losing weight. And
it was shocking for you to have to like work harder than you normally do.
Yeah, I had 30 pounds to lose after my pregnancy. And I'm 5'2", so that's a lot of weight on a person my size. And I never had to lose 30 pounds before. But I just stayed consistent and kept working, and I got stuck 10 pounds over for a while, and I just, it was frustrating. But I just kept pushing and kept with eating more balanced and exercising, and it did. It caught up, you know? Yeah. And it felt so empowering to see, I worked harder, so I had more muscle after my first pregnancy than I did before I was pregnant. And my husband even told me, he's like, you look more toned than before. And it felt so good to say, okay, this is my body. I'm in control of it. And yes, there's things that happen that you can't. Certain stretch marks just aren't going to go all the way away, or your skin might not be as tight as it was before. But you're in charge of your muscles. You're in charge. You can affect your metabolism. You could choose what you put in your body. And your body listens, which is really cool.
Right. It's amazing. Okay, so then you had that experience during pregnancy. You worked out. You felt good about yourself. And then after your second, you actually came to me for a boudoir session, right?
That was so fun.
Do you feel like that helped with like how you felt about yourself, or bouncing back, or like what part did the boudoir session take in your journey?
It took in a really it was the first time that I had this feeling. And this is something that I think we both preach a lot, and it's very hard to actually be there. And when I see those pictures now, I literally feel this, which is so cool. I am not at my goal, but I am so proud of where I am right now, and I'm so beautiful. And that's so easy to say, and we want everyone to feel like that, but it's very hard to actually feel that and realize that. And I'm so happy that I did it then. Honestly, if I had chosen if we hadn't linked up and I had just said, okay, I'm going to reach out to this woman and see if I could do a boudoir session, I would not have done that originally when I was 3 months postpartum. But
it's not something people normally think about 3 months postpartum. You're like breastfeeding and like you're like recovering and you're thinking about, trying to get back to your normal everyday life. And so you're not thinking, wow, I feel the most beautiful I've ever felt,
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's kind of like, I feel like if it wasn't documented, then you wouldn't have necessarily looked back on it with such positivity, I guess, right?
Yeah, so what I do want to say is this is why I'm so happy we linked up right after I had Mackenzie, because I was actually introduced to your work by a client of mine. And I saw your work and I was in love with it, and I was like, I need a boudoir session.
I want to say her name, but she's awesome.
And then you were doing this special, and she's like, do it with me, and I had just become pregnant. So I was like that bloated stage where no one knows you're pregnant, but you're not looking your best. So I was like, no thanks. Thanks. So when we linked up when I was about to get back from maternity leave, and we were going to do this collab, there was no way I was saying no to a boudoir session. I was like, okay, I'm 3 months postpartum, but I'm not saying no to this. And now I look back and I'm so happy I did it, because I look at it and I look so beautiful. And I see the line, that line you get in your stomach when you're pregnant. It's still there in some of the photos, and my skin's not as tight as it is now, or as I would want it as my goal. And my muscle definition isn't the same, but I really, and I'm not saying this to be all, fluffy. I really mean it. I'm like, that body is so beautiful. And those are my battle scars.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I grew a freaking human. And this is what I look like after. That is impressive. I'm proud of myself.
Yeah.
And I just see the beauty, and that's a body that had a baby.
I feel like when you're not in tune with those feelings, it sounds so cliche to say that. But
Yeah.
when you really feel it,
Yeah.
it's a real feeling. And it's like, yeah, like these stretch marks or whatever changes have been made in my body, they really are like battle wounds. And like, but like, you know, like if you're a kickboxer or you're CrossFit or like somehow working out and you get hurt and you're like, look what happened to me, and you kind of like are proud of it. It's kind of the same thing.
That's exactly what I think about. I'm like, when a guy comes back from war and he has a scar, it's like the sexiest thing. Well, it's like, I went to war pushing a person out of me.
Yes.
These veins on my legs are sexy.
Yeah.
You know, I really think that. I was just telling my husband that the other day. I was like, I'm not self-conscious about it anymore. I used to be, and I'm really not. I'm like, my legs are toned, they're strong, I work them. And yes, there's certain marks on them that show that I grew 2 people. Good for me.
Right.
You know?
I think it's easier to feel that way when you also feel like in control of your body in some way, like you're taking action, you're, you know, eating healthy or working out or like, you know, giving yourself more than just like, oh, okay, I'm fine the way I am.
Yeah.
Which is obviously very important to accept who you are, but I think as you like work on yourself and care about yourself, you love yourself more.
Yeah,
you know?
That's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
And that is why, because I'm proud of what I'm doing, and so from what I'm doing and where I'm at, I'm proud of where I'm at.
Yeah.
But part of it is saying, okay, I'm taking control of my body, and since I'm in control of it, I'm proud of it. You know.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome. So happy and so much positivity. Okay, so what do you wish that women would understand about pregnancy and birth and getting into fitness during that time?
Oh, I have so much to say on this. So I think let's start with pregnancy. There's a big misconception, and I think it's getting out there that it's not true, that you shouldn't work out during pregnancy.
Right. Just do yoga, take it easy. I've seen so much of that.
Yeah, and when this is like the most common question I get from pregnant women is, am I allowed to work out? And like my classic response to that is, are you not allowed to work out? Should be your question. Is it okay not to work out? And my answer is no, unless it's a certain situation where you're on bed rest or you need to be working out, because if you think of it this way, your body is growing faster than any other point in history, you know, or in bodies, and you're gaining more, and it's in one place also. So your muscles have to be stronger than ever to carry that weight and to keep yourself from being in pain. And then forget about just carrying the baby. Then you're going to give a birth, which is, you know, a marathon in and of itself. And you have to prepare cardiovascularly for that. You have to prepare your muscles to be strong for that. So,
oh crap.
Oh yeah. Get to work.
I know. We need to start.
Yes, after America.
I know.
But yeah, if you think about it that way, it doesn't make sense not to. It's like, oh, let my muscles waste away while I grow a person and won't be able to carry them, you know? So especially back work, core work is something that I include in my classes and in the women who I train and myself, and obviously full body. But yeah, your muscle work is super important during pregnancy. And a big misconception also is that, you know, you really can't do much towards the end, which isn't true. You have to tone down, you know, some of the jumping, but there are a lot of exercises that you can do during pregnancy and that you can do up to the very day that you give birth to your baby. And both my kids, you know, my water broke like within hours after my last workout class. Wow. And I definitely think that was part of it, and part of that helped me have my stamina and my strength. And it helped me bounce back after. Like, forget about also just birth and pregnancy and all that, which is, you know, just 9 months of your life, whatever. Afterwards, if your muscles are activated, they could pull back much faster because they're strong and they were used. And they're like, wow, I'm not carrying this extra 20, 30 pounds, whatever, you know, it's easier. Yeah. So it's really, really important and really helpful.
It's really good to know. I'm like thinking of all the things that I need to do now. Okay, so if someone wants to get into, they're pregnant, they want to get into fitness, they hear what you're saying now, what are small steps that they can take, whether it's like nutrition or fitness wise, to be on like a healthy track, but not necessarily like dive in 100%,
Right.
you know?
Right. During pregnancy, if you're starting, I would say, you know, it's more important, I think, to be consistent than just do a lot of crazy things one day a week. So even if you're going for a walk and doing a few strengthening exercises, you know, 5 or 6 days a week, your body.
For like, how long?
It really depends on the person, meaning I would rather you literally do 15 minutes every day than do one day a week for an hour. Because your metabolism is going to work differently. Your muscles are going to be consistently engaged instead of, you know, just one time. So I would say, you know, try 5 or 6 days a week. Even if walking is what you can do right now, walk and then do 1 or 2 strengthening exercises, whether it's a plank, whether it's a back exercise, or some squats, which are incredible during pregnancy. Start adding those in.
Yeah, I actually noticed for myself that I had a really hard like trimester and a half.
Yeah.
I was super sick and nauseous. I know. I really missed you too. And I noticed that if I would like get out and walk, not only was just the walking in itself good for me, but it would help me like, you know, push me along in order to be motivated to do a little bit more. And like,
and your endorphins are up to feel better.
To feel better. And so I think that's a really good piece of advice.
Thank you. Yeah, and then after pregnancy as well, I think it's like as soon as you get clearance, I mean, you could do walking and everything before, and as soon as you get your clearance, the sooner from a doctor, yeah, not just from me, but
Dr. Tova.
Yeah, you're good to go. As soon as you get your clearance, I would say start working your muscles, and you don't need to start intense. You don't want to overstrain yourself, but you know, especially your core, which has been attacked. I would even start with a daily plank, just as long as you can hold it, whether it's 10 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute, whatever. Start with that, reeling your core back in, working your lower ab muscles. And obviously your full body as well as also upper back, because if you're nursing, you know that bending over is not good for the posture and gives you back pain. But I think the sooner you start, and especially if you're breastfeeding and you're already burning more calories, it's going to be so good for you, and you're going to feel like you're giving to this infant, and it's a lot, but at least you're taking care of yourself as well. And it's a great feeling to be nurturing yourself and your baby at the same time.
Yeah, it's definitely very empowering, I think.
Yes, it was for me.
Well, I think that we covered a lot of awesome topics, and I'm just so happy that you came in and we could just chat a little bit about this, because it's super relevant to me, and I'm sure it's relevant to a lot of women out there. So thank you so much for coming.
Of course, it was fun.
Hopefully we'll do this again sometime.
Definitely.
Okay. Thanks for listening. If you want to see more videos about female empowerment, be sure to subscribe under here. There's a link. And remember that this is Tova Eastman. You can follow her on Instagram at Ignite Fitness for Women. And she also has an amazing course.
Yes, called Weight Loss for Busy Moms, and it's essentially teaching busy moms specifically how to build a sustainable, healthy, fit lifestyle that's enjoyable through fitness and exercise, and see those results no matter how busy you are, whether kids are home or not. And it's what I've implemented in my life, which has made a huge difference. So I want to share it with you.
Thanks for tuning in. Bye.